My name is Nick. Hey y'all. Hey. Hi. I wanted to make a video about our 2021 N2 Wera Endurance Championship. Hopefully if someone's on the fence about doing it, this will convince them to, because endurance racing is a lot of fun, and it's not easy. We're doing 4-hour races in the lightweight class. Dairyboys Racing SV650. This is the bike we were racing. Myself and Brian Bishop were riding it, and we had very little endurance experience coming into it. We're going to do this 4-hour series, national endurance events. It was all at new tracks for us, which is fun. It was all with new people. We've never raced with Wera, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So let's dive right in. This kind of sums up how the weekend went at CMP. It was raining the entire 4 hours of the race, which is kind of nice because then you get used to riding in the rain. You get a lot of time to ride in the rain. Also, it was nice that it rained the entire 4 hours and we didn't have to change tires during the race, which would have been a cluster. Here are the results from Carolina Motorsports Park. We ended up 6th out of 13 teams. Really only because we didn't crash. Most of the teams that should have finished in front of us had a crash or some kind of rain-related thing that made them stop for a long time. And the next round was at Ribbling Road, which is in Georgia. It's kind of a crazy track. You gotta have big balls, especially in the first corner and the last corner. Here are the results. You can see we finished 8th out of 15 teams, a lot of teams. The biggest thing that stuck out to us was that our race pace was actually better than we felt our position showed. So that caused us to kind of dive deeper on this. So I took the lap times from the 3 teams ahead of us, Browntown, R2D Twin, and Robum, and I took all their lap times and averaged them with the pit stop laps in. So when you get a pit stop lap, you'll see it's a long lap, like this 204 was a pit stop lap. So I averaged them with the pit stop laps in, and you can see we're the slowest, 126.1. Now, if you delete those long laps and just average race laps, we have the fastest lap at Roebling. Not the fastest with the 3 teams ahead of us, so we would have ended up 4th. So this made us really think, okay, our pit stops are holding us back. We got to start looking into how we can fuel faster, what we can do for tires faster. So we started looking at fuel. Let's talk about gas. What I did for all the tests was how fast it took to dump 3 gallons in. 3 gallons out of this can with the vent fully open takes 48 seconds. That doesn't seem like a long time for 3 gallons of gas, but when you're just glug 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 and bikes out, then it seems like a long time. Also, and I were always wearing gloves when we were doing this. It just takes too much time. So, we're still not super endurance guys. Let's just try making our own that can go faster. So, I came up with this puppy. I JB welded the biggest valve I could find at Home Depot, and then got some other Home Depot parts to get the most flow rate I could get that would also fit into our fuel cap on the SV. So this, in theory, you'd dump it upside down, open the valve, open the top valve, glug, glug, glug. In theory, this was a good idea. The homemade jug took 39 seconds. We saved 10 seconds. We ended up making a huge mess every time we used it. We spilled gas out of both ends. Brian spilled gas on me, I'm pretty sure. The Wera guys yelled at us when we were doing pit stops, so we were like, okay, this is embarrassing. We can't do this anymore. Tough jug. I think you can get it on Amazon, but it's got a spring in here that clicks down. It's kind of like a quick fill, about 39 seconds. I'm gonna say 40 seconds, but it was way less messing around. It's raining now. Finally decided that our pit stops had to be faster, so we had to get a tank modification and buy the IMS jug with the quick fill. And the nice thing about this is it takes about 5 seconds, which is huge. So if you think about it, we were saving 35 seconds between 5 and 40.
So between the fastest cheap option and the real endurance style racer guy option, we're saving 35 seconds. And if you multiply that by 3, because we're doing 3 stops per race, you get 1 minute 45 seconds. So most tracks, 1 minute 45 seconds is a lap. You lose a lap just by waiting for fuel to go in a bike, which seems dumb. This is expensive, it's not cheap, but it was time, it was worth it. We figured that's where we were losing a lot of our time, but that's where we were losing a lot of our time. So this is our fuel journey.
This is a 180 rear tire, like you'd find on a 600, and this is a 160 rear that's stock on the SV. We noticed most teams are using a 180 rear, and we were roasting a 165 Dunlop rear after 2 hours. We were looking at the other team's tires with 180 rears. Even after 4 hours, they were just to the wear bar, or weren't even to the wear bars on the 180 rear. So we got the TWF Racing kit for the 180 rear, and not only did this save money, because we had to buy only 1 slick per race instead of 2 slicks per race, but it saved us that minute it took in the pits to change wheels. So this is good. The next round was pit race, which is an awesome track. And we showed up feeling good because we had our 180 rear that we knew would last for 4 hours, and the IMS quick fill and tank modification. So here's one of the pit stops on the bike. So first thing you notice is Brian stops really far away. if we're nitpicking, and just I'm always thinking about, okay, those few seconds it takes us to walk to him is a waste of time. So we have to fix that next time. I put the stand on. Brian gets off the bike to fuel. My buddy Jake is right there with the gas. Click, gas goes in. It's maybe 5 seconds to fill up. Bike's full. I hop on. Stand comes up and we're off. So that was good. Here are the results from Pittsburgh. You can see we ended up 5th out of 13 teams. You can also see our lap times here just were not where they needed to be. Pit race is a hard track to learn, and a lot of these teams, it's their home track. There's a lot of blind corners at Pittsburgh, especially when you're trail braking and you can't see the apex. It takes a lot of balls or repetitions to know where the apex is going to be, to know how late you can be trail braking. This is on a different planet. We just need another practice day or something. So I made this chart to compare our pit stops. At Nelson Ledges, these are the lap times in seconds that we had pit stops. And this one you can see we had to do a tire change, that's why it's so long. If you take the pit stop time minus a normal lap time, you'll get the time spent in pits. Now, I did the same thing for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is where we showed up with the 180 rear and the quick fill. Lap time with a pit stop, and then we did the pit stop minus a normal lap time. So you get the time spent in pits, basically. So you can see the difference here. It's 41 seconds, 30 seconds, and 72 seconds because the bike didn't start in this pit stop. Brian pulled the clutch in and went to start it. Nothing happened. And then Jake and I yelled at him to turn the key on. Key was on. The kill switch was in the correct position. It turns out the clutch switch went bad, so the bike didn't think the clutch was in and it wouldn't start. So we pushed him down the pit road, and the bike bump started on the first try, luckily, and he could finish the stint. But stuff like that happens in endurance racing. But here you can see our average time went from 110 seconds, which is a minute 50, to 50 seconds. So we saved a minute by getting the new upgrades each stop, which overall was... This was overall time spent in the pits. We went from 5.5 minutes to 2.5 minutes. The last round was Summit Point. We looked at the results from last year and saw that like a minute 20, a minute 21 were winning laps. Now, Brian and I in practice, these are Brian's laps in practice. He was doing 22.7s, 22.9s. I did a low 23 and a higher 23. So we were to the point after the N2 track day where we were like, holy crap, like we are hauling here. we need to look at some data and figure out where we can gain this time. Race analysis, whatever it's called. We both have AIM solos. The night after the track day, we decided to look at data, compare our best laps. I always put my laps in pink because I'm a wiener boy. We always ride together and switch who's following and who's leading, just so we can kind of see if someone's faster somewhere. But we were at the point where we needed some data to look at, and you can see this graph is speed, and then this window is how far behind my lap is over Brian's, over the reference, which is the fastest lap, which is this 22.7. So the pink peaks are where I'm losing time, and then when I'm decreasing, that's when I'm gaining time on Brian. So you can see he's faster into the corners, and I was faster out of the corners, which kind of even out, but we could see a couple spots, especially this bus stop, I forget what they call it, Summit, turn 4 or something, where Brian was crushing me on the brakes. He was just going faster longer. So we really looked at this. I was going faster than him through this fast change of direction. So he noted that. He's like, okay, I can go faster there. I knew I could go faster in this turn 4. And then I was crushing him on the exits of these 2 fast corners at the end of the track. And this is almost a 10-mile-an-hour difference, which is a big lap time difference. So we saw from this, Brian saw where he could go faster, I saw I could go faster, and our ideal time then was kind of in the 21s. So we were stoked on this because we knew 21s would be on the podium in the next day. So here are the results. Saturday came around. We put up a good fight. We were in 3rd place when I got off the bike at 3 hours, and then Brian was riding for, I think it was about 20 minutes into the final stint. Brian had a little tip off. It wasn't his fault. He was following a slower guy, and he was trying to pass him as fast as he could because he thought it was the team in second. So he was like, I'm going to pass this team in second and get away from them. And the bike in front low-sided, which Brian just flinched. Everyone knows this can happen, and he just low-sided in the slowest corner of the track. And you can see here Brian did a 21.5 in the second hour of racing live, and you can see it's right here with these fast guys. There were 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in the 21s. This sucked. We were like the happiest we've ever been when he got on the bike and we were in 3rd. I knew we just had 1 hour to go. I 100% trust Brian, bring it home. Just all you have to do is ride for an hour, and shit happens. Yeah, we just went from the highest high to the lowest low in 2 minutes of knowing he went down, and it sucks, but it doesn't get us anywhere by thinking about it and saying what could have been. But this front group, we were running with Yo, Some Expense Spared, SWG, all these guys are fast. So now we know for next season we can hang with this front group, which is super, super motivating. This is how I'm kind of summing up the season. I'm sorry, I don't want this to feel like a work presentation or a, I don't know, TED Talk or something, but I'm an engineer. I have experience with race engineering, and all this stuff I'm doing with lap times and averages and results graphed like this is all race engineering. So Brian and I are engineers. This is how we get to the front. It seems to be working for us. So our finishing position is graphed here. You can see we're continuously getting closer to the front. If we get in the top 3, that's where we get a podium Pabst party, which we kind of had a sad Pabst party after the last round. But I put in here also, this red dotted line is the result. If things would have gone perfectly, that's the result we would have had. I'm calling that Summit No Crash. Lap time wise and everything wise, if luck would have just gone our way, I'm saying that's where we would have finished. So you can see we were constantly increasing in position. Our laps behind the winner is graphed in this guy. And the same thing, our laps behind the winner were always going down. See, we were 8, 7, 3, and then we would have been on the winning lap. We would have been on the same lap as Team Yo, who won in Summit, Chris Parrish's team. And these are the overall results of how the season went. So here's the lightweight overall points. It's either 19 bikes that raced, most of them at only 1 or 2 races, but there were a lot of teams at every round, and we finished the season off 4th. Actually, we thought we were 5th at the last race, but yesterday we heard that a protest went through on one of the teams. One of the teams broke a rule and had too many riders. You're only allowed to have so many riders that ride your bike all season long. They had some Moto America guys at one round, which put them over the top of riders. So you gotta follow the rules to win. So that bumped us up to 4th, and you can see one of the frustrating things is we're 4 points behind 3rd. And funny enough, this is the team that crashed in front of Brian and caused Brian to crash. So both of us were really close and fighting for this 3rd spot, and we both crashed in the last race. It just happened. We actually finished ahead of them, but they were all ahead of us in points, so they just finished ahead of us. We're 378, we're 374, 4 points behind. So for our first season doing this goofy thing called endurance racing, I think we did all right. 3rd place would have been awesome. 4th place is nice. I'm happy with that, especially considering we haven't been to any of the tracks or really done any of this crap before. So I'm excited for next year, excited to get back after it. We have everything we need. If you're on the fence about endurance, go try it. You can even do the relay class at the Wera N2 rounds where you ride your own bike and you're on a team with other people with their own bikes and you just swap transponders. It's a really good way to learn how to ride. You learn how to ride for a long time at a fast pace. You get to feel what a worn out tire feels like. You get to ride a long time on a worn out tire and you realize it's not scary, or it's very predictable. At least the Dunlops are very predictable when they're worn out. It's just a whole lot of fun, and there's no other kind of racing where you can race someone for an hour. It's badass. It's a lot of fun. Ask me any questions you have about it. Tell me I'm a loser. Tell me I'm slow. I don't care. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next year at the track. All right. Bye-bye now.